It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Kyle Benedict as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. As always, it is great to have you in studio today. You remember recently we did a show with the Patriot Guard Riders. They were in studio and talked about the flag lines they put up at military services and things of that nature. And John Moffitt, who was in studio, had sent us, he continues to send us information about servicemen and women who are being laid to rest. And they need a flag line set up. So we've been talking about that. I've noticed during some of these obituaries that I get, it talks about medals, Purple Hearts, Silver Stars, and just the different medals that come across. And it got me thinking that I don't know too much about these medals or these ribbons, and I don't know what they mean, and I feel like I should know a little bit about what they mean in order to be talking about this man or woman who's being laid to rest for serving, they've served our country. So Bob Hall, Command Chief, Master Sergeant, retired. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
You were the Air Force.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to get to your career, and we're going to talk about medals and ribbons and take a look at some of your medals and ribbons as well during today's show, because I feel like I really do need to know a little bit more about that in order to, I guess I feel I should, out of respect, know a little bit more about that. Let's start with a little bit of your service. Tell me a little bit about your background in the military.
Well, I started my service in 1961. And after basic and technical school, I was an aircraft structural repairman, which is a body and fender man to the aircraft.
For the aircrafts.
And I did that for 16 years. A part of that service, I was assigned to the organization with Air Force One. So I spent 5 years with Air Force One. Then after that,
the President's plane?
Yes, sir.
Oh, you took care of the President's plane?
For a time, yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then I was assigned out at Luke Air Force Base. And during that time, I decided to change career paths. I was a Master Sergeant at the time, and I became a First Sergeant, which is kind of the people person to the commander for the enlisted people.
Okay.
And then I moved on from there. And I ended up being the First Sergeant for a headquarters squadron at PACAF in Hickam Air Force Base.
Okay.
Then at that time I was an E9, and the fellow that was the Sergeant Major, if you would, or Command Chief Master Sergeant for the base, retired, and he put my name in the ring, the hat, to become the Command Chief for the base there. And that progressed with me moving around the Pacific for 13 years.
Wow.
We left Hawaii and went to the 313th Air Division in Okinawa. Then I went to 7th Air Force in Korea. And while there, I was asked, because the person that was the Command Chief at PACAF at the headquarters went on to be the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force.
Oh, wow, okay.
And I was asked by him to come back and be the Command Chief for the Pacific.
Sounds like you were good at your job.
That or I didn't get caught.
Right, right. How many years?
32, almost 33 years.
Wow. And regret any of it?
One or two times I wished I wasn't there, but the most of it was a pretty good tour.
Awesome, awesome. Well, first, thank you for your service. And also something else I wanted to mention, too, at the start of the show. Some of the terminology I'm not going to be familiar with. And, Bob, if I say something that doesn't sound right, you let me know.
All right.
Because this is supposed to be a learning experience for me as well as people watching and listening as well. So we've got a little bit about your service and your country. I did not know the Air Force One part. That's very interesting. I feel like having you come back for another show to talk about just that alone.
It's
Okay, so Bob's done a little research. My question was medals and ribbons. Now, you hear the words Purple Heart, Silver Star, is that right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I always thought that if I'm a Marine, Air Force, Army, Navy, Coast Guard, that it was the same across the board. But then you came in, and it's not the same across the board.
Yeah, that's true. Some are the same for each service, such as the Medal of Honor. It's the Medal of Honor, not the Congressional Medal of Honor. It's the Medal of Honor done by Congress. But the medal in itself, design is different for each of the services.
See, I didn't know that.
The Air Force has one, the Navy, Marines have one, and the Army has one. They're all the Medal of Honor. It's just the medal in itself, the design of it is different. The Silver Star is a Silver Star. It's pretty much the same for all the services. It is the same for all the services.
Okay. Purple Heart, is that the same for everyone?
Purple Heart would be the same.
It's the same all the way across the board too.
Right.
Okay.
The Distinguished Service Cross, which is the second highest medal, it was the same for the Army and the Army Air Corps until the Air Force became a separate operating agency in 1947.
Okay.
Then the Air Force came out with the Air Force Cross. So you have the Distinguished Service Cross, which is worn by the Army and the Army Air Corps folks that may still be with us. But then you have the Navy Cross, which I know folks may not have heard of, and then you have the Air Force Cross. They're all the same, but they're different color. The ribbon itself is different color, and the style of the medal itself is different color.
Which distinguishes it between branch to branch.
Right.
Right. So if I'm wearing the wrong one with the outfit I'm wearing, I was surprised at how many different, I don't know, is rules a good word? And how you wear them and where they go and how they're placed and what uniform they would be on. Yeah, I think that's all very interesting. That it's very specific about these things. Now, how would I go about getting these medals if I'm in the service? How do you go about getting these medals? Because we talked about this. Bob stopped by last week and we spent a little time kind of discussing this. And you had pointed out, and we were kind of talking about how if you and I were in a foxhole battling, and our commander looked over and you had leaned down to reload or whatever, and I'm up there fighting away, he might spot me and say, that guy's going to get this medal. And then you pop up out of the same foxhole, but you don't get a medal. That happens.
And yes, I'm sure it does. And I think my personal opinion is that for every award that is recognized, there's probably one that wasn't. Just simply said. The method of introducing an individual for a decoration, depending on what the decoration is different. The process for a Medal of Honor is very lengthy, very meticulously looked at. Not that the others aren't, but others don't go to Congress to be approved. Some are approved right at an air division level or right within the unit. Okay. So there are different levels and different, as you go higher up the chain, I guess, the more they're looked at for the exactness of the recognition.
Each medal has a definition, too, as to why it's awarded.
Right.
And so I noticed you had a magazine you brought with you last week, and I noticed how we talked about the differences there, too, where one person was receiving a medal, and the description as to why they're receiving the medal was pretty much word for word what comes on the description of the medal. Right. Where the second one, there was a little more detail as to what this particular soldier did to receive the medal, and then the third one, somebody went into great detail to describe what had happened, and it was something ran into battle without worry about his own life. And
that's usually the citation for the decoration is the verbiage that goes into, and depending again, the requirement, such as for the Distinguished Service Cross, the Navy Cross, or the Air Force Cross is pretty simple. It's awarded for extraordinary heroism. Okay. Now, somebody's got to define that, figure out that, is that extraordinary heroism and whatever goes on, such as the Silver Star, which is the next one down below the crosses, is awarded for gallantry in action. So it's a word game. You got to know which is that extraordinary heroism, the Medal of Honor. Distinguished them through conspicuous gallantry, intrepid at the risk of life above and beyond the call of duty.
It's kind of based on a person's interpretation. Right. So kind of based on what I think.
Yeah, it's not. It's based on on what the person feels. Did this person feel this, or did they feel this? Right. Right. Was this really above and beyond? The person throwing themselves on a grenade to save their comrades. You can go back and find where people have done that, and they've got a service cross. You can find people that have done that and got Medal of Honor.
I'll be darned.
And so it just depends on the given the circumstance at the given moment.
Interesting. Command Chief Master Sergeant retired Bob Hall in studio today. We're talking about medals and ribbons. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. This is Countywide. Stick around.
Right, mi cariño. So like I said, everything I learned about cooking, I learned from Grandma's empanadas. Shall we go again?
Yep.
Mix beef with the onions with the peppers with the paprika with the garlic with the oregano with the cumin. Got it?
Got it.
Throw on the olives, stir, season, stir again, pour out the flour, roll out the dough, make a circle, drop in a fistful of filling, fold over, press down, and ta-da!
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain.
They said a bottle was just a bottle. That no one would ever notice me. But I knew I could be more. That one day, I would make people smile.
Why is my son having trouble in school?
Finding lowest airfare to Istanbul.
No, I'm tired of fighting with my son over his homework.
Home walk restaurant. Need a review?
No. He's smart, but his mind wanders.
7 wonders of the world.
Why don't you understand me?
I do. I was trying to show how Connor feels every day. Redirecting to understood.org.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive.
Welcome back to Countywide. Retired Command Chief Master Sergeant with the United States Air Force, Bob Hall, in studio today. Great to have you along. We've talked a little bit about medals and ribbons, and you have medals and ribbons. And what is the difference between a medal and a ribbon?
Actually, they're awards and decorations.
Okay, all right.
And medals and ribbons, it kind of synonymous. Pretty much a ribbon is an award for a unit, for a specific marksmanship ribbon.
Okay.
Everybody that got qualified with a weapon got a marksmanship ribbon in the Air Force.
Okay.
In the Army, they get badges.
Okay, and what's the difference between a badge?
It's just a method of recognizing,
okay,
and that's what that branch of service chooses to do. Okay. Marine Corps has badges.
Okay.
Air Force has ribbon. Maybe we're less volatile than the others.
Okay, all right.
But and I always like to say that medals have ribbons, but ribbons don't have medals.
And what do you mean by that?
In the words or the items such as the Medal of Honor, the Distinguished Flying Cross Medal, the Meritorious Service Medal, the specific connotation of the award will end in the word medal.
Okay.
Okay. There's a presidential unit citation.
Okay. How did you get that?
It was with Air Force One.
Okay.
There's longevity of service ribbons.
Okay.
Awards. Okay. There are things that aren't medals.
Okay.
They're recognized. It's pretty much your history. You can, if you've been around a while in the same branch of service, I may not be able to tell a Navy man off as well as I can with an Air Force person.
Uh-huh.
But this pretty much, you can look at this and tell how long a fellow's been in, what he's done. good conduct for as many service years. There's a way of telling a story with these things.
Okay. It's history. It's your history in the military, right there.
It's the individual's personal history.
Okay.
In essence, in part, yes.
Now, some of your ribbons have extra pins or...
That's repeated. They're called service stars,
okay,
or the little stars, or oak leaf clusters.
All right.
And then you have bronze and silver oak leaf cluster. Silver oak leaf cluster means you got it 5 times.
Okay.
So there's the ribbon itself was one, like this particular one has a silver cluster and 2 bronze clusters, and then the decoration itself, which means 5, 6, 7, 8 times.
8 times what for that particular one?
That'd be 8 times 4. That's a service ribbon.
Okay.
So 4 times 8 is 32.
For,
that's longevity.
Longevity.
Every 4 years.
Okay.
So that's 32 years.
Okay.
And then if you count up the good conduct, or not getting caught.
Not getting caught, right.
There's the ribbon itself, and then there's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Okay.
And the ribbon is 10, which good conduct in the Air Force comes every 3 years, so that's 30. So you know I've had more than 30 years service, but not over 32 years or over 33 years service.
Okay.
Because that comes to 32 years.
Okay.
If I had 33 years service, there'd be another one on the end of that. So you can kind of, if you look, you've been at it a while, you kind of know what's going on.
Right, right, and that's kind of what I'm hearing. When you showed up today, I was telling you that I've had several people now, when I told them that you were coming to do the show, and we're going to kind of switch gears here a little bit. When you were here last time, you have a catalog where I can actually purchase. I could purchase those items, and I could put them on my clothes and walk around with them on. And I asked you last time you were here, how'd you feel about that? I mean, should I be allowed to purchase myself a Purple Heart and then stick it on my clothes and walk around with it? Any of those medals or those ribbons? Obviously,
you can purchase them. Not knowing you, other than our chats here, I can't question that. I would think it's the individual's morals who would say, I'm not going to wear a Purple Heart to recognize myself towards someone else. Right. It's called stolen valor. People may have seen on Facebook or these little news clips and stuff where people will be in a mall wearing a uniform. And a serviceman will say, well, that's not on the uniform correctly, and we'll confront these people.
There is a specific, these are supposed to be worn in a certain way. I mean, there is a definite area where they're supposed to be and how they're supposed to be, correct?
And some of these won't be worn on a utility uniform.
Now, what would be, tell me what a utility uniform is.
Fatigues. BDUs.
Okay.
Utilities, BDUs, fatigue.
My day-to-day
work uniform.
Military uniform.
And a Class B uniform, which is basically a dress uniform without a tie, a little more casual than the Class A or the dress blue uniform, which is different than a mess dress uniform. So there's a whole book on it.
But it's very specific. Okay.
But if someone were to be in a Class B uniform and were to be wearing medals, I may question them because they don't belong on there in the Air Force.
Gotcha.
You would wear these ribbons.
Okay, okay.
But if someone were walking around wearing these on a Class B uniform, they better have a good reason to tell me why they're wearing them that way.
Let's take a break already. Command Chief Master Sergeant, he is retired with the United States Air Force. Bob Hall in studio today. We're talking medals and ribbons. Stick around, County-wide, back in just a couple minutes.
Things you've done with your bike, donating it to Goodwill may be the most incredible of all. Your donations help fund job placement and training for people in your community, which means your stuff can be more powerful than you think. Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
So don't accept defeat. Now you can get covered and still buy me treats.
You take care of your pets. Now it's their turn to take care of you. Visit getcoveredamerica.org to learn about your health insurance options.
Welcome back to Countywide. We've got just a couple minutes left in the program. Hopefully we've got a little bit of insight in you. And I mean, I guess folks could do what you did and pretty much go online and research all this stuff and find out more about it.
Certainly could.
But I think it's very interesting about the difference between medals and ribbons, awards, the patches.
Mm-hmm.
You said we're leaning a little ways away from the patches now, too. They kind of show your rank?
Most of the patches, the sew-on patches, were worn on utility uniforms back in the day, and then they started doing them with Velcro because you could what they call sanitize the uniform. You took your rank off and you pulled everything off flight suits or whatever. So a lot of this is kind of cleaning up, to getting away from the unit patches and those designations. Dress uniforms, they're now kind of a enamelized pin or that they wear, so they can change them out readily. So that the old patches are kind of going away. There are still some, but they're becoming less and less.
I'll be darned. What would happen if God forbid, I want to call them awards?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure I'm doing this the best I can. What would happen if your awards were to, say, catch fire, disappear, stolen and gone? How would you get those back? I mean, those are important to you, I would imagine.
Well, the proper way to do it is go through whatever branch of service it is. Through ours is a personnel branch, and you tell them who you are, and you give them your service number and/or social security, however you're designated, and you have what you call a DD-214. It's a retirement certificate or separation certificate, and on that will tell you what you can have. The services will replace medals.
Okay.
You can go to catalogs.
Right.
And buy what you want, get what you want.
I said at a break, I could be as big a hero as I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Right.
And then on military installations, they have what they call utility or clothing sales stores, and you could go and have them replaced. There are companies that will make this set of ribbons. You know, you tell them this is who I am. But again, they don't ask for a proof of a 214. The service will replace your medals for you. In fact, I misplaced one of my medals, and it was through moving. And they said, yeah, and they just sent another one from
that's good.
From personnel.
That's good. That's good.
But yeah, you can go online. You can find them in service magazines. You can get them, you know, however you want to get them. Depending on, you know, like we're a little bit far from the nearest military installation, so better or easier, I just purchased these because I was a guest speaker and I needed to update a couple things. So you can get them online. Again, wearing them properly and for the reason that they've been awarded to you is, to me, more precious than just having anything you want.
Right.
It's the stolen valor thing.
That's
and I think it's a shame that there are folks out there that do that.
Yeah, so do I. I think it's a real shame. Bob Hall, thank you so much for coming in today.
My pleasure.
Very informative. I enjoyed that a lot. That is today's Countywide. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Paul David. That's the show. We'll talk to you again next time.